Stu Peters with me, MHK for Middle, and this section is about the next 12 months, and we'll have a report card for you and ask you how the government's doing, all that, which people hate me doing, but we'll do it. Okay, so now you're the head of the post office, for instance. I mean, that's something was it like put up on you, or did you ask for it, or did it just come your way? I mean, how do these things work?
It just came my way. Chris Thomas was elevated to being minister, and that created a vacancy as far as the post office was concerned. And I was asked if I'd do it, and I said, well, yeah. It's not something that I've looked for, it's not something that I expected, it's not something that I sought out, but if people thought that I could do a good job there, and obviously the council of ministers did, I was asked to do it, and yeah, I'm quite happy to do it.
Okay, well, your plan for the year, I mean, have you got things you want to see done?
The problem with government is, I mean, we mentioned last time that it's a bit like sort of wading through treacle to try and get anything done. And I worry that there are certain things that the public expect of the Manx government that are outside or out with the control of the Manx government. So the big problems that we've got at the moment are inflation. I think that we're staring down the barrel of some sort of a recession. I don't know what sort it is, where there's no unemployment effectively and everybody seems to be making a reasonable amount of money. But there is some sort of recession. Interest rates are going up. And the problem with that is that the government can't do much about it apart from provide subsidies. And, if you provide subsidies for too long, and nobody knows how long this recession, for want of a better word, is going to last, the money will run out. So what do you do about that? So there are all these knock-on effects. But, these are all as a result of external pressures. We had a presentation a while ago, I think it was when the gas prices went up last time, and I asked the Chief Minister, I made the point that actually we were dealing with the effects of that rather than the cause of it, because he'd announced a raft of measures to try and help people afford the gas. And he said, well, yeah, but that's because it's outside our control. We've got no control over gas prices. These are things on the international markets. And I said, but surely somebody somewhere is making huge profits out of this, because, gas and oil isn't costing any more to get out the ground than it was 12 months ago. But the prices have doubled, trebled, whatever. So somebody's making a killing on this. Yes, but it would take a G7 summit or something to try and get to the root of that and to sort it out. We've all seen that people like BP, Shell, British Gas, their profits are doubling, tripling, quadrupling or whatever over the last 12 months. So they're making a killing out of this. But then you look at and you think, well, why does government allow that? And I think both Sunak and Truss have said, we don't really want to upset these big fossil fuel companies, because they might relocate to a low tax jurisdiction and we would lose all their taxes that they're paying at the moment. Okay,
but Stu Peters, Isle of Man, what's your goals here? I mean, you don't like the green money, for instance, do you? The all that money is going to go into, how many? 70 million?
I think it was 42 million pounds.
For instance, would you be robbing that for the climate change? That's
yes, I would. I would. I'd use that 42 million pounds to pay people's gas bills, or to pay the excess in energy costs that Manx consumers are going to have to pay this winter.
So you don't want to see any wind turbines here, or solar panels? I mean,
perfectly happy. Wind turbines and tidal power and all, solar panels. Let's have all of that. Don't have a problem with it at all. But at the moment, we're not seeing that. So that's one of the reasons that I've been a supporter of the Kroger gas field, because they're actually there, they've got a plan, they've got the licence, and we've still got people who are trying to stop it. And that to me is absolute madness. If we've got a resource in the Isle of Man, we ought to exploit it. And forget about whether or not Greta Thunberg's going to be made unhappy by it.
Do you feel like a lone voice, though? I mean, and you're an independent, like most people are. So how do you get your point over?
All that I can do, Paul, is to get my point over and hope that somebody somewhere listens to it and agrees. But I suspect that the majority of people in Keys and Tynwald don't agree with me. But that's fine. I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. I'm just trying to say there is another way to look at this. And the fact that we've got activists outside campaigning, let's get real about it. We've got 6 activists outside campaigning, and we've got 60,000 people who are going to be very cold this winter because of of the things that they're suggesting.
Away from that, have you got other things that you would like to get through, or, private members' bills, anything like that?
Yeah. I've got. It's not a surprise to anybody, but I mean, years ago on the radio, I came up with this idea that we ought to have a gravity pursuit centre at Snaefell. So I'm working that up as a plan.
What's that?
It's going to be zip wires. It's going to be an alpine-style coaster coming down Snaefell. It's going to be a luge. It's going to be a dry ski slope. We've got a hill called Snaefell that is used for nothing apart from a cafe at the bottom, a cafe at the top, and a railway that goes up it. And it creates a huge amount of space where you could do gravity pursuits.
And does the government run this thing? I mean,
entirely.
What's your views on government running things like entertainment businesses?
No, I think that it would ideally work as a public-private partnership. Government, I assume, owns the land, and I think that they could set up something a bit like the Manx Development Corporation, call it the Snaefell Gravity Park Consortium or whatever, and sell shares in it. But I'm not bothered about that. I just want to. I've had some drawings done, which I'll share with you in due course. Some artist impressions, and I'm just trying to sell. I'm going to try and sell members on the idea of it. And if there is sufficient support for it, then
zip wires are all the thing. I know, like Costa Rica and places like that, it's just everywhere. But I mean, is that the sort of thing? Tourism, is that where we're going on this?
Well, for 20 years, people have told me there's nothing for people to do in the Isle of Man, so let's have something for people to do. We've been told that tourism, we've got a nice little sort of niche tourism sector, people who want to come over and have walking holidays or cycling holidays. That's very few people really. So let's have something. We've got the Laxey wheel that takes you half an hour to have a look at. So what are you going to do for the rest of the week? Walk and cycle. Let's have some real things for people to do here. We're never going to have Legoland.
No. But what's your view on the size of government? Because looking back at things at the prom and all those sort of big things that didn't quite work out.
It's too big, and I'm sure we've got lots and lots of good people within that department, but the common factor in all these clusters, let's say, is the DOI. And I think that was it Beeman's last year that came out with a report that said that the DOI is unwieldy and it's effectively unfit for purpose. I'm paraphrasing, but and needed to be broken up. And I think that whether or not that is still a political ambition of Alf Cannon, I don't know, but it should be.
And what about his vision of the future of the KPMG £1 million report?
Well, I don't know. I read that report and it was lots and lots of buzz phrases. I mean, I remember that when I was a young man, nobody had problems in business anymore. It was always challenges because the management boffins decided that. And then, so challenges have now changed to headwinds. So the KPMG report talks about the headwinds that we're facing. And it's just a case of trying to come up with new buzzwords that nobody really understands.
Was it worth £1 million?
I very much doubt that. Well, it struck me when I read it that it was something that they were telling us things that we already knew. Let's put it that way. For somebody to come up and say, well, the problem that we've got is that the tourism sector could be a lot stronger. Well, yes, it could, and we need to diversify our economy. Yes, we know that, and we need to increase the number of people because we need a bigger tax, and we've got an ageing population. We know all those things. Now maybe it condensed it into one report rather than into a dozen reports, but I don't know.
Do you think this is going to go anywhere? I mean,
well, I suppose that one of the things, I was talking to a colleague about it who said, well, you're being a bit, overcritical. What it does do is that it helps focus people, and it is a sort of a central repository of information on a plan, a way forward. So it gives people a common sort of a document to work from. So, maybe it will have a benefit.
Quickly then, you a fan of Alf Cannon and the government?
I think Alf's, I do. I voted for Alf, and I think he's very good. He's got this collegiate style of things. I think that previous chief ministers have probably been fairly autocratic, and I get the impression, and I don't know, Alf might be like that behind closed doors, but certainly what I've seen of him is that, he's got this collegiate style. He tries to take people with him, he tries to involve people in things, and it seems like a good bloke.
Very quickly, would you like to be a minister in this whole, 4 years ahead?
Again, I'm not an ambitious person as far as politics is concerned.
But you want to run things, and you can't run it from the back benches, can you?
But I don't know how much power a minister has.
Well, you should be finding out by now. You must have some examples of people who haven't already stayed the course for whatever reason.
Well, yeah,
anyway.
and that's the problem, because you've got people that go in there with good intentions who realise that they can't do what they
Treacle, we're
want
back to that. Okay, out of 10, how do you rate the government on the year 1 out of 10?
This government.
Yeah, this last year, the government.
This government and
how things are going. Yeah, in general.
I think that things are going horribly, but it's not because of the government. I think the government is doing its very best for the people, and I think is probably up there at sort of 7 out of 10, something like that.
And yourself out of 10?
It's a similar sort of a score, yeah. Always room for improvement, but you know, I've not been sitting on my hands, and I think I've made a difference in some areas. So, yeah, 7 out of 10.